litigation. Let's go over it generically. This has been on a prior board agenda where one unit owner will say, we'll call that unit owner number 2, and number 2, because of an air conditioner modification of the air handler, not as originally put in the unit, but modified for some whatever reason, leaked into, which is prone based on the modification where an auxiliary pump breaks, leaked into unit number 1. So what happened, unit number 2 was informed and decided to ignore the liability issue. Do something, you damaged unit number 1. So the association had to get involved, and the reason why the insurance was not put in, because there's like a $5,000 deductible, and you know, every time I call, which is not something they consider it a claim whether you put anything in or not, and all these little claims start adding up into now further insurance crisis, so you understand. So because of the potential mold issue, Tony and Steve had to get aggravated with going into unit number 1, and then we had to get remediation with ServPro, and the sheetrock had to be put in, and then unit number 1 refused to put the air conditioning on because that's not what he or she does. They do not use the air conditioning, and of course, when ServPro was there, Steve and I were there, and ServPro is explaining, you know, we don't want the mold, you got to put the air conditioning, and then it was agita, aggravation, and then I had to walk out, and then Steve was left there. Anyway, we got over an $8,000 bill between sheetrock and remediation. It was turned over to the attorney. Go get it. This was after legal notification to the unit owner, of course. Good luck. And, oh please, Peg, yes, add to the comment.
You probably should mention that both apartments were vacant for the last 2 years.
Correct.
And the apartment number 2 lives out of state.
Correct.
And when he heard
Thank
about the problem, no part of it, no response.
Yeah. And then Peg also had to get involved in this getting agita over nonsense. So, I don't know, I think you were involved, if I recall, there was a conversation, did you, with one of the parties? No? Okay.
No, I wasn't.
No, it was Peg, me, Steve, yeah. Foolish. So, the issue is, let's explain what the issue is. The damage is over 8,000. The second issue is, in the River Shores condo docs, it requires any modifications, any improvements must have in writing, this is the condo docs, this is not a board rule, approval by the board. There was no approval for this modification, insane modification, by unit number 2. And the auxiliary pump is prone, it's not just that one, there were others who did this, makes zero sense in my mind, but nonetheless, they are prone to breaking. Plus, wait a minute, there are 3 issues. So the remediation issue, the sheetrock, this thing, and then, there are attorney's costs, because now we had to get the attorney involved, and all this agita. So how it works in condo world law is the attorney needs a response what to do. So the next step is the attorney wrote number 2's attorney, and you know, they're all friends, and basically the attorney for unit owner number 2 offered $5,000, and that's not going to fly. Obviously, we're at not resolving what the issue is, the auxiliary pump modification. You get it. So what we need is a formal board vote, and you've been informed of all this in email, so it's not like it's a surprise. But since we're here today, and this just came up the other day, how far do you want to go with this? Do you want all 3 issues, the remediation, sheetrock being one, the modification, put the thing back where it belongs, so potentially out of state, unit owner, we don't run into this again. Number two, put the AC handler back where it belongs. And number three, go for the legal course, because we're probably into this for $2,000 now that I think about it, because it's the other day, because it's called billable hours. Make America great, making attorneys rich. Oops.
So, how much are we out as of right now? In total, how much has it
Well, 8 and 10,
8
say
plus
10,
trash.
10 plus. Plus aggravation, which we don't get reimbursed for. Lots of I don't put the air condition, I said, but you understand, there's mold, we have to, no, I never use the air conditioning.
And
Yeah.
they were thinking of settling for 5.
Correct.
And keeping the handler where it is.
Oh, yes, and we pay the
Yeah.
legal
And not
costs.
putting it back where
Yeah.
it should be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Correct.
I suggest because what you do now, you have to do with anything in the future. Oh, you let them
Correct.
get away with 0, so they should reimburse for the whole thing. They made
And
it-
move the unit.
and move
And
the
move
air
the
handler
back. to
back
where
where it's supposed to be. They're already offering 5,000, so I
It's in
think,
the hands of unit owners to insurance, which I already said, and our attorney said, no, but of course, Tony, has done this for years. So what happens generally, once it's in insurance, they don't, they know what it costs to go to court. So, but you get attorneys involved, because you don't know the negotiations, you have to believe whatever they tell you, which is, okay. So and I sent you a copy of what the attorney responded, because I said, the board needs to know, what are your chances? You do this every day, it's like going to a doctor, we can come up with all the diagnoses, but the doctor does this every day. We're not attorneys, we don't do this every day. So our attorney, River Shore's attorney, says, no, well, I could definitely do, or whatever she wrote, which you have a copy of it. So how it works is it will go to mediation first. If it's not settled, it will go to court. So we could be into this for $30,000, but on the other hand, as Fred made it very accurate, if you don't do it, this is one of the times, as I said, you want to do something where the evidence is, and it's clear, it's in the condo docs. It's not a board rule, which has no weight. So it depends how you see it. You could cut the losses or go for the 8,000 and call it a day and then eat the 2,000. I don't know how you see it. I don't know how I see it, because I know once you get attorneys involved, your position is always compromised. And again, there was an aggravation factor in all this, unnecessary. It could have been handled a lot easier, a lot cheaper if people would have stepped up to the plate, but it's no, go see where you gotta go.
Would you allow a point of information question? I'm just curious.
Okay, sure.
Are you talking about possibly the air conditioners when they're up in the ceiling, or when they've been moved over so that they're actually in the closet?
Correct, that's
The
it.
reason I'm asking is my unit was like moved into the closet
Correct.
when I moved in. Is that illegal here?
Well, I wouldn't call it illegal. What happens, people modify their apartments.
Right.
And obviously, nobody can stand there and watch every little thing you do. You happen to be on the ground floor. You have that auxiliary pump in your unit, is that correct?
Well, however, the pancake version that goes up in the ceiling, I've never even opened that to look. God only knows what's up there.
Well, no, I asked you
They-
for you have a modified AC handler.
I'm guessing I
No,
don't
you
know.
do. Because
Okay,
they go
I do.
up in the attic. On the one bedrooms, they go in the one attic, and the water simply flows out of them. The worst that'll happen, the ceiling will get wet if it's not maintained.
Okay.
You're on the ground floor, you're not the problem. You could keep it, to me, it's insanity to
I
lose
think it
that
is,
closet
too. I'm
space.
just curious, and I didn't realize
Yeah,
this about
to
the-
me,
Thank
to
you.
lose that closet space is
Yeah,
pure
I agree with
insanity.
you.
But I'm not living in the apartment, so it doesn't bother me or it should bother any of them.
Well, that's why I asked, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No.
thank you for the information.
So you know now the logic behind it, you're losing closet space. So those pumps he's on the ground floor, so where's it gonna go? It's just gonna go in his closet if that pump fails, and I'm sure at one point it has failed, or he saw a little water and he happens to be there. So he's not the problem, but as Peg aptly mentioned, Unit 2 is out of state. So, and of course, oh, by the way, you also know I have documentation of the damage, witnesses to, because somebody's kind of watching the unit. So when Steve went in there with witness, it's all in writing. Thank you, Jesus. So it's a case for the attorney to lose if, you know, we do
Okay.
nothing.
I feel like we just need to go into mediation and then see what happens from there.
Okay, with the 3 points, the 8, the put the handler back, and the attorney's
And the
cost.
money, yes.
Okay. Motion, mediation, second.
Second for mediation.
Fred, is the board in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Helen, who's on the, well, I'll get you have to confirm, I'll write the lawyer, but then you have to confirm that this was the board agreement. Not because I'm afraid, but it shows that, yes, this is what the board has agreed to.
If it goes to mediation, do we also go, or?
I don't know,
One of us,
you
or-
know, I don't know who's gonna go, you know, Steve may have to go, he's gonna get nervous, you know, it's gonna be a whole, but it's okay, you know, we gotta do what we gotta do, because this is a bigger thing, as you mentioned, correct? It's, there, you know, we can win, not all the time, on maintenance fees, depends, if there's a mortgage and they owe taxes, we're third in line. This is something, it's been outlined on the website, you modify the apartment, guess what? You gotta eat it. The association cannot be responsible for modifications. It's that simple. Yeah. And this is a prone, known issue that those auxiliary pumps fail. Yes, Peg?
I just want to say it's a shame that the owner of the apartment he didn't step up to the plate.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's left in the board's hands to decide what to do. And we have a responsibility to the residents to not let the mold spread. It's a mold
Correct.
issue,
Yeah.
which is serious.
Couldn't we next time just put the air on?
Well, remember, Fred, I said, unit owner 1 said, no, I don't use the air conditioning, because it's, you know, it costs money, you see.
Okay,
It
So
could-
I
it could
wrote
be
the
out of
lawyer.
order.
I wrote the lawyer, you can't force people to do it. Now, as far as liability, that's a different issue. We have to remember, you know, you accept consequences and then you must go through legal counsel to make sure they step up to the plate. I can't put a, you know, you have to, I said, put the damn air conditioning on. And then I had to walk out with, by the ServPro, it was, the tech came out, and she said to him, you have to put the air conditioning on he wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah.
So, agita.
Yep,
You
so
know.
he didn't work with us at all?
No.
So let's go to mediation.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And stay pretty firm in mediation.
absolutely, absolutely. And then it will be handled, and then the attorney will say, you know, she'll do what she does. Maybe if I have to go, I don't know how they're gonna do the mediation. It could be Zoom, I don't know what they do. So one of us can go and I can, you know, prod her.
And
I
from,
could do that well.
and then from our
Excuse me,
side,
Tony, I have a question. I had an identical situation in Winmore when I was living up there. And what they did, I don't know how they did it, but they forced the person that wasn't using the air conditioner to sell the apartment. I don't know if there's legally, because they said it wasn't being kept right. It's being
Correct.
neglected.
So the issue is, you have to remember, Winmore and River Shores, the condo docks could be very different. And we can only enforce, but I did write the lawyer and say, he's not putting the air conditioning on. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
It's, now in Winmore, they may say specifically in the actual condo docs, I don't know. I know ours are fairly weak, that's why we have rentals, I explained that before. The board is only really authorized to follow those condo docs, that's the teeth, and there's not much teeth in them.
I understand.
I can't, I'll be that truthful, there's not much teeth in those condo docs, they're not the best written.
So how about rewriting some of them?
We did. That was done 25 years ago, and I explained that. There were 11 amendments. I explained that maybe in December, I think. explaining that, ha ha ha, you lost, and 3 of them had to do with rental restrictions. Because at that time, 25 years ago, it was only like 10%. But at that time, somebody had the foresight, and Jim was on the board, if you remember. Tony had the foresight saying this could be a problem. You couldn't rent for the first year. I think it had to be a yearly lease. It was 3 of them. I don't remember. And then there were other issues such as staggered elections. I remember there were 11, and all 11, they were close to getting the vote. But at that time, there were no emails. You had to knock on doors. It was a big thing. And I remember that night, ha ha ha, you lost. That's not the way to handle business, but it becomes personal and political, and that's how we get nothing done around here. So, lecture over from me. So you're in agreement, board? Okay.
Yes.
I will get that email going, or I'll just whatever, and Helen and whatever, and I'll get the minutes going. And folks, do you have any questions why the board, go ahead.
Yeah, Tony, on my floor alone, there's been 3 rental apartments that have gone on to become ownership apartments. And the ownership, as you probably know, the prices have been skyrocketing amazingly. And I think it's time, I know we can't discuss Middle River problems. I would love to, but I won't. Can we please get that our parking spaces cleaned up at least? I don't think
Yeah, I
it's
could
a
have
major
Basil clean it
expense.
up. Yeah. You
Yeah.
want them swept or something?
No, I mean,
Oh, on page.
you could barely see the lines
right.
when you're pulling in, and you can't, a number of the slots, you can't even see the number. I think just painting them over and putting the numbers back in, like you have on your side,
Well,
it
again,
doesn't seem like a.
let
an
me
enormous
try and explain again.
No, I understand
There's an
the
issue
road,
where they are involved.
But
If you look at
our
number
parking
1 and you
spaces
look
are
at
not
behind here,
their
it's an
problem.
eyesore.
No, I get all
Kind of
that,
fixed
but,
my-
but we cannot,
3 are like on up the
You guys
hill.
wait.
Down
Okay.
here is the
I'm
eyesore.
sorry.
He's got the floor.
Sorry.
yeah. So why this side is done and not this side, by the way, in the past, I did everything, whether it was the repaving 20 whatever years ago or the seal coating. The reason why is they are involved. If we do just the painting, that's not resolving the whole parking lot. It's coming up. The whole thing has to be redone. The
But
way,
they're not moving, I mean, they're just stubborn about the whole thing.
well, no, we don't want to pit stubborn. There's a way around it. We have to figure that out.
Right.
It may have to be Middle River, I don't know. We're not
But
there.
if we could
The
just-
driveway cannot be done, say, August, September anyway, so we still have, because this place has to be as empty as possible.
But if we could just get that area cleaned up,
Okay.
you know, with the individual spaces, I'm not talking about anything else.
Yeah.
And second to that, I know nothing about, I'm a New Yorker, so I know nothing about plants or flowers or anything. But I wipe my car almost every day now because of the deterioration of those plants. And if we could move somehow to, you know, settle that problem, because I think that fence is also Middle Rivers.
I would like to know.
I don't remember where you park, I'm sorry.
Is
Yeah,
the front fence
The
Middle
fence
River?
facing 16th Avenue.
Oh,
It's
right.
just shedding, and
Yeah.
every day I have to
They
write
need
down
to
the
be
code.
spraying that soon, so I have to get with them. I already discussed it with them, so we have to make sure when they're gonna come out. I don't know if we're replacing them. It would be great to get rid of them and put what Wendelin suggested. That's a great product, and it will look absolutely great.
Great.
The ficus is a prone issue. Before, there was Australian pine there, which was worse, believe it or not. So the best thing to do is rip it all out and start over again, but that requires a Middle River Club board meeting, because the entrance, that fence, the grass, and those hedges are a Middle River Club. They serve the 3 buildings. So as soon as we can talk nicely to each other, maybe that could be addressed.
And we will be having a Middle River Club meeting coming up.
Oh, that's great.
But I don't have a date set.
Will it be available
Bless you.
to
Bless you.
owners, or just an individual meeting?
No, the Middle River Club will have, just like this, it will have to be open to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah,
And yes, that's very high on the menu, that front. Not only the